While I was away on an important trip with my wife and kids, my younger brother stole my house. He moved all his belongings into the brand new house I built with my own money. And when I confronted him about it, instead of apologizing, he called the police on me. I never thought my own brother would stab me in the back like this. Let me tell you how it all began and how it unfolded. After our father passed away, my younger brother and I inherited his land in one of the most prestigious communities in the city. The property was split into 2 lots. My portion faced the street, prime location, while his was tucked right behind mine. Let me tell you why he picked the lot behind me. He claimed it was to avoid accidents from crazy drivers who might crash into his house. The reason he didn't want a place right next to the street. And the shocking part? Now he wants my house. The one where there's a possibility some crazy driver could crash right into it. My name is Daniel Miller. I'm 38 years old, and I work as an architect in Vancouver, Canada. I've spent my career designing spaces that balance beauty and practicality, something I take pride in both professionally and personally. I'm not flashy, I'm not showy, but I believe in timeless design and quiet elegance. So I decided to build a home that reflected everything I valued: simplicity, elegance, and class. Clean lines, soft tones, natural lighting, and functional spaces. I poured my savings, heart, and soul into that house. Every detail, from the placement of each window to the grain of the hardwood floors, was chosen with care. I wanted a space that felt warm without being cluttered, sophisticated without being ostentatious. A place where my family could live in comfort and peace for decades to come. It wasn't just a building to me. It was the physical embodiment of years of hard work and quiet dreams. My younger brother, Brandon Miller, is 32 years old and works as a freelance interior decorator, though decorator might be too generous a term for his taste in design. He picked it up as a hobby without any proper training, and it shows. He's always been drawn to flash over function, style over substance. Quick to charm strangers, but just as quick to twist situations to his advantage. He's the kind of man who can smile at you while quietly plotting something entirely different behind your back. Brandon had always been the type who thought more meant better. His design was loud, gaudy, and overstyled. Bright pattern tiles everywhere, glitter-finished walls, oversized decorative columns that looked like they belonged in a budget disco club. Every room seemed to compete for attention with clashing colors, mismatched themes, and decor so overbearing it felt exhausting just to stand in it. He crammed the place with faux gold accents, velvet curtains that didn't match anything, and chandeliers that looked like they were rescued from a clearance sale at a bargain banquet hall. It was the kind of design that screamed for attention but never earned respect. Both our constructions had completed, but we had not yet shifted. He threw a party and proudly invited his friends over, eager to show off every glittery wall, mismatched curtain, and faux gold fixture. But instead of admiration, he got something else entirely: mockery. One of them chuckled, "Man, this feels like one of those flashy budget hotels that try too hard." Another smirked, "I half expect a disco ball to drop from the ceiling." Someone else added, "It's bold, I'll give you that. Definitely not for everyone." Their laughter echoed in the overly decorated living room, bouncing off glitter walls and patterned tiles like it was mocking him from every corner. They couldn't stop praising my house next door. "Now this is tasteful. Your brother really has an eye for design. Your place is unique, I guess." My brother laughed it off in front of them, but I could see the storm brewing behind his fake smile. He hated being overshadowed, especially by me. Later, when the guests weren't around, his jaw was clenched and his words were laced with curses under his breath. He muttered how pretentious my place was, swore that people had no taste, and snapped that one day he'd show everyone who really knew how to build a house. As he stalked around his glitter-filled living room, yanking open a curtain as if the velvet fabric itself had betrayed him, I could see the humiliation eating at him. Every compliment thrown at my home had landed on him like a slap, and in that moment, I knew he was already planning some way to get even. A month later, I had to leave for an important trip with my wife and kids. Business meetings, family visit. Due to the important trip and work, I could not shift into my house yet, so I planned to move in after I returned. My brother, however, shifted into his own house the day before I left for the trip. Before I left, my brother kind of hinted he might do something wild while I was away. He even told me to look out, jokingly, or so I thought. He said it with that same smirk I'd seen the night of his party, the one that didn't quite reach his eyes. I brushed it off, telling myself he was still just sulking over a few harmless comments from his friends. He was my brother, and irrespective of his devious and sly behavior, I never realized how far he could go. We were gone for over 2 weeks. When I came back, I was met with a sight that made my blood run cold. The kind of moment where your brain takes a second to catch up with what your eyes are seeing, because it's just that unbelievable. My driveway was full, his car parked boldly in the center like he owned the place, with a couple of moving boxes stacked off to the side as if this had been his address for years. My living room lights were on, curtains drawn. From outside, I could see shadows moving through the rooms that were supposed to be mine. Inside was my brother's furniture. His clothes were hanging in my closet, his jackets draped over the arm of my favorite reading chair, as if he'd been living there for months. His paintings, loud, mismatched, and dripping with fake gold frames, hung on my walls. His dishes were stacked in my kitchen cabinets, his coffee mug sitting on the counter with steam still rising from it, like I'd just walked into his morning routine. I had placed a few photos of me, my wife, and my kids before I left, wanting pieces of us to be in our new home, and he had taken them and hung them in his own house, right in his loud, gawky drawing room. Even the family photos I had carefully placed were gone, replaced with his grinning face and his friends. It was as if he had taken a giant eraser and scrubbed out every trace of me and my family, replacing it all with himself. I confronted him immediately. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" With a smug grin, he shrugged. "It's still under Dad's name, remember? Technically, it's not yours yet. I thought I'd help keep it occupied while you were gone. You know, so it doesn't get dusty. And honestly, this house feels right with me in it, like it was meant for me all along." Smirking, he said, "I've moved all your photos to the other house. You can move in right now. It's very welcoming and warm, Daniel. Your family will have the best life there. You already know the house was designed by the best interior designer in town, me, Brandon Miller. It's got the finest style and taste. Trust me, you'll thank me later." I told him to pack up and leave. That's when he smirked and pulled out his phone. Before dialing, he leaned in and said, "You think you're the golden boy, Daniel? Dad always loved you more, gave you the better lot, the attention, the praise. I got scraps. Well, now I'm taking what should have been mine all along. This house, it's the only thing that finally feels like it belongs to me." He forgot he was the one who chose the lot tucked behind mine, with the stupid reason that he wanted to avoid crazy drivers who might crash into his house. Now, suddenly, he's claiming I picked the better lot. What he's forgetting is that we divided and chose the lots only after Dad passed. It was his decision, not mine. He told them I was harassing him in our late father's property, twisting the story so it sounded like I had no more right to be there than some squatter off the street. He painted himself as the wronged brother, claiming I was trying to steal what was his, conveniently leaving out that he had chosen the other lot for a ridiculous reason and only now decided mine was better. Since the title transfer hadn't been processed yet, the situation became a legal gray area. The officers said they couldn't forcibly remove him without a court order. It was infuriating, but I knew him. He thrived on impulsive schemes, and I was about to let him dig his own grave. He thought this was just another one of his petty victories, a game he could win with charm and manipulation. But this time he had crossed a line so deep there was no coming back. I filed for an emergency court hearing, bringing all my construction receipts, architectural plans, and proof of sole investment into the house. I walked into that courtroom ready for war. A few nights earlier, while my wife and I were out for an evening at a quiet restaurant, I happened to cross paths with one of Brandon's childhood friends, someone I'd known just as long. We reminisced for a bit, swapping old stories, when his tone shifted. He leaned in and said he had seen the group messages Brandon sent, bragging about stealing my house and rubbing it in to everyone who would listen. "I didn't feel right about what he's doing," he admitted. "I've been thinking about trying to reach you for days, but maybe it's fate that we ran into each other. You're the one who's right in this, Daniel." His words sat heavy in my chest, but they also gave me exactly what I needed. What Brandon didn't know was that I also had something he would never see coming. Witness statements from neighbors who saw him hosting loud parties at all hours and boasting to anyone who'd listened that the better lot was finally his. And most importantly, A string of text messages he'd sent bragging to his friends about claiming my house while I was away, calling it his personal victory over Daniel. Each smug word dripped with spite, and now they were all neatly printed and ready to hand over to the judge. When the hearing came, he walked in cocky, convinced the lack of title transfer meant he had the upper hand. But as my lawyer laid out every piece of evidence, the money trail, the design plans, the messages, his smirk began to fade. He shifted in his seat, glancing toward his attorney as if silently begging for a lifeline. The confident swagger he'd walked in with was slipping, replaced by the tight-jawed look of someone watching their perfect scheme unravel in real time. The judge ruled that since I had built the house entirely with my own funds, on the lot assigned to me in the estate division agreement, he had no right to occupy it. He was ordered to vacate immediately and pay damages for trespassing and harassment. As I sat there hearing the verdict, I couldn't help but recall the moment right before we'd stepped into the courtroom. Brandon had leaned in with that same smug grin and whispered, "Hope you brought tissues, golden boy, because when I win this, I'm turning your precious dream home into a man cave, and the first thing I'm hanging on the wall is a big photo of me sitting in your reading chair." Even now, the memory of his arrogance made my blood boil. And here's where karma hit hardest. In court, the mocking comments from his friends were read out as part of the text evidence. The same words that had humiliated him before were now on public record. You could see the color drain from his face as each line was read aloud. His so-called buddies laughing in those messages about how he'd never hold onto the house for long, calling him a squatter with delusions of grandeur. Every snicker, every jab, every "good luck keeping it, loser," was now echoing through the courtroom, with the judge staring right at him while they were read. When the gavel fell for the last time, Brandon shot up from his seat, his face red with rage. He muttered curses under his breath, loud enough for everyone in the courtroom to hear, before slamming the door so hard on his way out that the bailiff called after him to watch his language. His footsteps echoed down the hallway, each one sharper than the last, until the sound faded, leaving only the satisfaction of knowing his little stunt had blown up in his face. Within days, the community knew everything. He became the laughingstock of the neighborhood, not for his gaudy house this time, but for being the man who tried to steal his own brother's home and failed miserably. Whispers followed him at the grocery store, parents tugged their kids away when he walked by, and even the barista at the local coffee shop smirked when calling his name. It wasn't just gossip, it was a full-blown social exile, the kind you can't paint over with fake gold frames. Now, every time I sit in my elegant, peaceful living room, I think about that day, and I realize something. Sometimes you don't have to fight dirty to win. You just have to let people destroy themselves with their own pettiness. I sip my coffee, look around at the home I built from the ground up, and there's a quiet satisfaction in knowing the walls themselves hold a story, one where truth outlasted spite. The silence isn't empty. It's the sound of peace reclaimed. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to comment your thoughts below.